How about we go ahead and kick this off if we may. Thank you so very, very much for taking time out of your schedule to come and spend with us here in Vaughn Library. Thank you to Ms. Little for allowing us to use your space. Thank you, sir, for recording it. So this session will be recorded, and we were hoping to make this not necessarily a question and answer, more so as it will be more informative, because we're going to be hosting one-on-one meetings with you. We'll share more information about that as well. Some of the information you have may be somewhat confidential, and you may not necessarily want other people to hear what questions you may have. We also have some very special guests who are zooming in from abroad or other places. So hopefully you can see the screen. I will try to stay out of it as well. Again, it will be recorded and shared with everyone. So we do have a few things that we wanted to cover with you tonight, and we hope not to put anyone to sleep. It's not necessarily about College Counseling 101, but Mrs. Jones and I have some very exciting news to share with you about some curriculum changes. And then, as you all may be aware, we've recently taken those PSATs back in October. So we want to tell you how next steps will impact you in getting those PSAT scores. I had one job to do, and that was press enter. So we can already tell that I am off to a bad start. So
just a little bit, Miss Takari was supposed to be here today. One of her children had a small accident, and I believe had gotten some glass in their hand, and they were trying to deal with that. So she may come in late. If not, we will cover everything. As Mr. Bridwell says, our goal here tonight is just to kind of give you some information on next steps and what you need to do, not necessarily college counseling selection, but what classes and what we need to do from the academic standpoint to make sure when we do hit our senior year, we are prepared for that. So I am Jenna Jones. This is actually my first full year over here in college counseling. I have been part of Webb's community for the last 8 years as the Associate Athletic Director. I worked part-time athletics, part-time college counseling last year, and I am full-time over here now and very excited. I will work primarily with NCAA eligibility of our student athletes, so anybody who's looking to go on to play at the next level, but I also am just one of our 2 college counselors right now, so we kind of try to split the load 50-50 in the class, so I am happy to work with anyone, but I definitely am going to work more so with the students who are interested in working, going into college athletics.
And while Ms. Sakari is not here, we actually do report to the Dean of Academics and Arts. So she is the wonderful resource for information about course offerings, AP such, questions that may arise. And again, for those of you who may not know, my name is Chad Bridwell, and I'm relatively new. I would say I'm starting my 4th graduating class here at Webb School. So it's been great. Most of my experience has been on the college university campus reading all of these applications that Mrs. Jones and I are hectically putting together because the deadline was November 1st. That's why I have no hair. So it's been a very, very fun ride on this side of the desk. And our offices are located right back there. We have the lights turned off because we're doing some renovations and we're embarrassed of how it looks currently. But your students and you, of course, are always welcome to come join us anytime. And if you're unable to join us, we would love to visit with you virtually as well. So, fun fact, Ms. Jones.
Okay, fun fact. My fun fact is I am very afraid of heights. I do not even want to step foot on a ladder, but I have actually gone skydiving. So, even though I'm afraid of heights, I have taken that plunge once and probably only once, so.
She's got me beat. My fun fact is I've managed to visit all 50 states. So I was very excited to get that accomplished. I did not complete it before I reached 50, but it did happen before 50. So. Some of the things we want to cover today, you may have heard. Hopefully you're getting some emails or you're getting Canvas announcements from college counseling. So we are trying to be open about what is happening on campus. So some of the tools that we use aside from Canvas, our website is a wonderful resource. You can see all of the things that we have offered from those students that are coming to visit or those universities that are planning their fall visits. Here on campus. They actually do physically come on campus to recruit students. They're either meeting in the conference room or they'll meet in the library depending upon how many students are signed up. We do have our last college visit is scheduled tomorrow over the lunch period. That was with MTSU, so we have many seniors who've applied. They're going to be having some questions. So some of the best practices that Mrs. Jones and I have incorporated come from our advisory board. And our advisory board consists of several universities who've actually come on campus They may have met with your students already. Speaking with anything dealing with international student admissions, we just hosted a wonderful athletic roundtable from someone from Mercer University. Presbyterian College was on campus a few weeks ago talking about the best way to polish yourself in a resume or during the interviews. UTK was on campus recently talking about all of the wonderful financial aid resources that they have available for Tennessee residents. And Belmont was here just kind of kicking off the whole college search process for our students about highly selective and selective university admissions. So we do not know everything, and we realize that, and every day is a new learning curve for us. So we rely fairly heavily on our advisory committee, and we'll post questions ranging from AP to how the best way is to host a college fair. Likewise, we have a new software tool that you will have access to as well as parents. It's called SCORE. You may have heard this before. The students are very much aware of this because this is where we schedule every event, every college visit that we have on campus. And likewise, this is where we record your ACT, your SAT, your PSAT scores. And if your students did not already know this, there's already a copy of their Webb School Transcript available for your review in their My Drive in SCORE. So we rely very heavily on technology just so that we can all be on the same page moving forward. We typically have about 42 to 72 colleges and universities who visit Webb School during the fall. We've had University of Rochester, we've had NYU, USC had to cancel and Zoom in, but we've had some really amazing schools come and visit. And we're very excited that Mrs. Jones and I can say that this year we have 100% of our senior class already having an ACT or SAT under their belt. This may not seem like a big deal to you, but COVID really had an impact on a lot of our testing abilities. So Mrs. Jones and I also helped coordinate those on-campus ACTs, SATs, and PSATs that your students love to take with us. By the way. In case you did not know, with every college application goes the Webb School profile. This is available online and it will be shared with you in a PDF format with not only the PowerPoint, but also our handouts. The profile is what a college admission officer will use to evaluate Webb School specifically. So this is what they will use to indicate rigor, the AP classes, honors classes, the class size. You may not be able to see the 2022 Fast Facts, but it says the Webb School total enrollment, then it'll tell you how many seniors you have at Webb. What we do that is somewhat unique is we do not rank our students, so do keep that in mind as well. But we do have a GPA scale that we do record. So you can find eventually this time next year for juniors and 2 years for sophomores, you will find where you not necessarily rank, but you will find based upon your GPA where you fall in terms of the grade distribution chart. So this is very helpful for colleges and universities to help evaluate what type of curriculum Webb School offers. And again, it's updated every year, and it's on our webpage as we speak. Also has some pretty good information about grades and our grading policy that we'll share with you. How many of us have already seen a Webb School transcript? Anyone? I know hopefully the students have, because they are available in their SCORE account. What we have here is an example of a graduated senior. This student graduated several years ago, and I popped this one up here in case you can't see. That GPA is a 4.445. He was a national merit finalist, and we were very, very proud of this individual. But some things to keep in mind about the Webb School transcript. We will report world languages and math classes if you've taken them during your middle school curriculum. But those grades will not apply toward your Webb School high school GPA, because those were not high school classes. You get credit for those. You will see in the blue ink, and as we share with you, you will see our grading scale from A+ to F, and you'll find out how many points and the weighting for those based upon the 100-point scale. Our AP classes get 1 additional point for weighting. So if you make an A+ in that would be worth 5.3 points. If it was a standard college prep class, it would be worth 4.3 points. And if it was an honors class, you get a 0.5 point credit. So it would be worth 4.8 points. So that's how we do weight our more rigorous classes. When we complete the applications, we encourage students to know that all of our courses are college preparatory unless they are honors or they're advanced placement. We'll have another opportunity coming about that later. Another thing that is of interest is that only your Webb School classes will apply toward your Webb School GPA. So if you've transferred into Webb School, we've already received your previous school's transcript. So when you apply to colleges, we will submit your previous school or school's transcript with your Webb School transcript. So for instance, this graduating senior attended for 2 years, went away to another school, and then returned back to Webb. So he does have a Webb GPA, and that's just based upon Webb School classes, and we would send that other transcript when he applied to colleges. So things to keep in mind, we only report the weighted score or the weighted GPA. We do not have an unweighted GPA listed on the transcript. We only list courses completed, and you'll see that we only list semester 1 grades, semester 2 grades, and the final grades. But keep in mind, you should be hearing from your academic advisor and your parent, and heaven help us if you hear from Mrs. Jones and myself about your quarter grades. Quarter grades are still very, very important as well, because obviously those impact those semester grades. So that is what a Webb School transcript looks like. Again, your son or daughter will have a copy of that in their score account, and if you ever need a copy, you can contact Mrs. Jones and myself, and we'll give that for you. A couple of real quick nuts and bolts about college counseling policies. For seniors, you get 4 college leave days. For juniors, you get 2 college leave days. So you just stop by, you pick up a form, you say, hey, I'm going to go visit NYU for the weekend, and I'm going to leave Thursday night, and I'm going to miss Friday. Mrs. Jones and I will give you a form, and you'll have 2 unexcused absences as juniors, and you will have 4 unexcused absences as seniors. Sophomores typically will have 1 or 2, it depends on the circumstances. Your mid-year grades, again, are reflected on your transcript. As you're a senior and you're applying, we only submit mid-year grades to those colleges who request them. Likewise, quarter grades, I'm finding a policy or a trend in some highly selective universities your senior year that they will want to have your quarter grades. So as you're sitting here thinking about what it's like for seniors right now who just finished quarter 1 grades, it's a little touch and go depending upon who you're speaking with. So we want to make certain that you do have the best academic profile on your transcript. Because as a junior, your concrete is already laid because you pretty much already have your course selection done in your GPA. So we want to make certain that we do look very closely at the current courses in progress for your senior year. So that does not mean you want 2 or 3 free periods, and you probably want more than 1 or 2 honors or AP classes. So your academic advisor, Mrs. Jones, and I will help you with that policy as well. For those of you who may not be familiar with what we call early decision and early action. Just as a reminder, early decision is a binding contract. So if you apply early decision to Vanderbilt or NYU or any of the other highly selective schools, and you are admitted, then you're really bound to go there if you apply under the early decision program. It's a great option. If this is your number 1 choice, you know you want to go there, your parents approve, then by all means, let us help you decide if that's the route to go. But I will say early decision does require a signature from both the student and a parent or guardian and the counselor, because you only get 1 shot at early decision. Early action is just that. They will take action on your application early. We can apply to as many early applications as you wish. Let's get all of those wonderful admission decisions back, and then let's weigh what options may work best for you. Recommendation letters for our juniors in the room. You will be requesting letters of recommendation before you start your spring break. So you might want to consider right now 2 of your favorite teachers at Webb who would have something really, really positive and good to say about you. So now might be a good time to start really being extra sweet to Mr. Brooks or Mrs. Camp, because they tend to write amazing letters of recommendation. They probably would want you to stand out of class maybe a little bit more and maybe engage more in the classroom, maybe volunteering for additional work, maybe not always on your phone with your earbuds in or anything of that nature. But now's a really great time to start building those relationships with your 2 favorite teachers, because they will have an impact on your admission. Likewise, Mrs. Jones and I write letters of recommendations as well. So every student will leave Webb School with a counselor letter of recommendation and at least 2 teachers' letters of recommendation. So we will start asking for your information about your recommendation letters. If you are familiar with SCORE and you get those surveys that we often put in SCORE that you have to complete very short answers, those teachers will also see those results, and your responses help craft the perfect letter of recommendation for the schools that you're applying to. We're going to talk just very briefly about some of the fun things that Mrs. Jones and I now do, which is ACT and SAT. We're no longer offering those tests on the weekends as a national testing center. So in other words, we're only offering ACTs and SATs during the school day, and it's just for Webb students. So if you'll recall, when you were taking the PSAT, Mrs. Jones had all of the seniors in the BAC taking the SAT. Likewise, we will have another SAT for all juniors, sophomores if you wish. You'll take it in March 2nd, and there will also be an optional ACT for everyone on March 8th. So these will be on campus. You do not have to go to the websites to register for these exams. We will take care of that for you. Now, there still are about 1 or 2 ACTs or SATs offered every month, just not at Webb School. So for some of our boarding students, you have the ability to work with Mrs. James, and you can take those exams at the Smyrna location, and transportation is provided for you as well. So we want to make certain that you have all of those testing options available to you.
Awesome. Can we go back to the first transcript? I just want to real quickly point something out here. Can we go back one more? Okay, so this is more for my juniors so that you're understanding this. When you go to put in an application next year, nothing is right here. So all they are seeing are your freshman, sophomore, and junior year. And so that's why, even though that junior year is probably the toughest year here at Webb, it is the most important year. As an admissions counselor, this is what they have to look at. Your last year of work and what classes you took and how well you did in it. Usually, by the time we're submitting a transcript on your behalf for that initial application, there's no grades in your senior year. So as an admissions counselor, what they're looking at is what you did your junior year. So if for my current juniors, it's very important to know that this is a very important year to get as good grades as we possibly can. And this is good for our sophomores to know, because that's when we are selecting which classes we're going to take our junior year, that we're not taking pottery 3 times or something like that. We are showing admissions counselors that we are putting forth our best effort. We are taking as rigorous classes as we possibly can. Now, that does not mean by any means I'm telling you to take all AP and honor courses. I want you to stay in your lane and what you're capable of, but it is very important heading into our junior year or as juniors to recognize that this is until you get those final senior grades, probably the most important grades you're going to have on that transcript. So.
Great point. Juniors, this is the last year you have to impact that GPA that you'll put on your college applications. Every college application will ask you your GPA. So this is the last year that you really have to impact what's going to happen. And some of that may have already been laid on the first quarter grades.
No pressure.
No pressure, no pressure. So sorry. I'm so sorry.
To bake cookies.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to do one, if you don't mind. Okay, so what Mr. Gribble is passing out, our students, if you're a returning student, you probably saw this last year with your advisor. It's our audit sheet for graduation. So this your advisor will go through this, Mr. Gribble and I will go through it, the registrar's office will go through it before it gets to your advisor, but it's kind of the process of looking at which classes that you need to take, and then we're going to break it down by grade. So this is an audit, and if you look at the far column, And again, for our Zoomers and the people watching, this will all be in the email. This is going to let you know what the requirements of per class is. So you'll see for fine arts, it's 1.5 credits, science 3, English 4, and so on. And so this is what is required in order to have graduated from the Webb school. Now that does not mean in science, for instance, if I know that I want to go into a science major, that 4th year you can still take another science. You could have possibly, the first transcript we saw, if you took Algebra 1 in 8th grade year, does not mean that you can't take an additional 4 years all the way through your senior year, depending on especially your major and your interest. But this is just for you guys to have kind of that idea. As a parent, you may not have ever seen this, so we just want to kind of, again, show some light on what we're doing from an academic standpoint moving forward. So with this, Mr. Bridwell had said all of our classes, if it is a standard class, it is a college preparatory class. And this is important to know once we put applications in, but all of our classes are college prep, unless it is an honors course or an AP class. This is just a little bit of information on both the AP and honors classes. So we do have some, I guess, recommendations and AP policies as far as which classes you want to go into. So you can't just all of a sudden your junior year say, hey, I want to take AP everything. These have to be suggested and approved by that particular subject's teacher. So you have to get permission and recommendations from the current teacher to go to that next year. So our sophomores looking to go into, our juniors going to senior year, if you're interested in taking an AP science course, your current science teacher has to give permission in order to go to that. Again, this is so that we make sure that you are going to be successful in this course, and this is a course that is of your level to take. Something else to be as far as our AP courses. So we will only administer AP tests for those courses that we have here on campus. Now with that being said, we may not have an AP course, but you want to take the AP test at the end of the year. So a course like psychology is offered here on campus. It is not offered as an AP course. But if you feel like you really understand the subject, you've done very well in this, and you would like to go ahead and test AP for the AP credit score, we will set that up. Obviously, this communication needs to happen first half of the year, not a week before AP test happens. But we won't, for instance, if say Chinese, you could not take an AP Chinese course here because we do not offer a Chinese class at this point. So we will offer these here. Also the AP, as Mr. Bridwell says, is going to give you that 1-point bump on your GPA.
You must take your AP exam to get that 1-point weighted GPA. The score you make on your AP exam is hopefully 3 and greater, but in order to get that 1-point weighting on your GPA, please plan to take that.
And just so you're aware too, your AP score is your score, so you do not have to show that to colleges. The colleges will see that you took the AP class, but if for some reason you showed up that day and it just didn't happen and there's a 1 on that test, we do not have to, it's much like your SAT and ACT scores, you own those and you're allowed to show what you would like to show, but they will see per your transcript that you did take the class. These are our AP courses that we offer here on campus. So there are quite a few classes. Now somebody may say, we might have a junior right now saying, hey, AP biology and AP chemistry, that's not offered, what's going on? So with that, AP biology, AP chemistry, at the end of last year, I think we had 3 people say that they wanted to take one of those classes. We cannot justify, especially with the growing numbers, having 3 people in a course. So what's very important with that, if you're looking to next year, and AP biology is something I definitely want to take, students, when you sit down with your advisors and you go through this, we need to know that ahead of time. So we go through this process right around the spring break time, and that's when Ms. Takari and Ms. Donovan have everything in there. They then can see, hey, we had 20 people sign up for AP biology, we're in. We're gonna have an AP biology class. What we can't happen, and we had happen this summer, was by August, we had 5 or 6 people say, oh wait, I wanna take AP biology now. At that point, the class schedule has already been set. So my students, if you're interested in a class and you say, hey, this hasn't happened, we want to make sure that we're putting forth and telling our advisor that this is a class we want to take. Telling your science teacher right now, hey, I'm interested in AP biology next year. Do you think that's something that I could take? Great. So when I go to register for classes, we're registering for those classes to ensure that they fill. So the next one that we have here, and this is going to just kind of be a lot of paperwork, but maybe interesting. This is just kind of how the class flow works per department. So our first one is our history department, and how this kind of just is going to lay out for each department is the progression of courses. So again, some of these courses you're not going to have much of a choice. If this is just where it's going to go, and what it may do is to just offer the AP course or not offer the AP course. But this will break down each class or each department and what the course selection will be for this. Again, you have some classes or subjects such as English. There's not a whole lot of decision making in what you're doing, and it's just going from one to the next. But if you hit something like the math is where is an important one to kind of look at and make a few notes on this. Again, as sophomores and juniors, we may be too far along on this process, and it is where we're at. But if you're looking to go especially into something like an engineering, your math and what you're coming out of school and out of Webb with is going to be very important. So many of the people who kind of have this idea, and that's why Mr. Brickwell and I are starting more so in the 8th grade so that we can catch you up to speed at that point, but taking that Algebra 1 in there so that you have that at least pre-calc before you graduate. A lot of schools we're talking to, a lot of those advanced math degrees, pre-calc is almost a minimum of what you have to have in order to even be accepted into that particular program. So the math, and again, as sophomores and juniors, it's what's set is kind of set for you, but just so you're aware, especially parents if we have younger ones, the math is probably the most important when looking forward to some of those math-specific curriculums. As we go on here, the fine arts is kind of set for what it is. The wellness, speech, ethics are requirements here on campus. And then the sciences as well, we kind of talked about that you have 3 years that you have to take. And then the last year, 12th grade year, is an optional year for science. There are opportunities, again, with the AP courses that are offered here on campus. If you're thinking about doing anything science-based, we obviously suggest this, because if you are trying to, say, get into a nursing program and do not have a science on your senior year transcript, doesn't look as great as just having an additional science course.
So a few things to keep in mind. Your academic advisor is your friend during this process. We can certainly serve as resources as your college counselor, but you are able to sign up for a class and decide that class is not right for you. Perhaps you feel as though this class is something you took last year and you're prepared to move up a level or an advance in that class, then you can certainly do that within the first 2 weeks. You are able to drop the class, but the timing is critical because we do not want it to reflect on your transcript. So the first day of quarter 2, it's the last day you can drop a class and it won't show up on your transcript. If you do it the following day, it will either be listed as a withdrawal passing or a withdrawal failing. So we certainly don't like to do those. So ensure that you keep in touch with your academic advisor, because they will serve as a great reference for that process. So again, Mrs. Jones covered the audit sheet and how we will work through that process. You're going to have these conversations fairly quickly with your academic advisor and your parents about what courses you feel might be best for you. And then we will actually record these in Webb. If you weren't here last year, we simply will go through Webb and we will put your classes in there. That does not mean that you're registered for those classes. That means that's your course selection. It could change. We'll figure out your schedule later, maybe change sections and things of that nature. But all of that will pretty much happen around between February and spring break. So it's super helpful that you know maybe over the holidays what your end goal may be with Webb, and maybe have that conversation about what classes may be in your future. So we understand that there are sometimes some faculty members that may be taking on additional courses, or they may seek retirement. So we do hold the fact that you may say that you want to take Mr. Quinn's art class, but lo and behold, he's decided that he's going to take a sabbatical. Then, of course, that course will still be offered, but just know faculty may change as we go through the process as well.
Okay, I get some exciting news. So, we have finally got approved here on campus to open up dual enrollment for next school year. So dual enrollment, for those that are not aware of what dual enrollment is that you are dually enrolled in a college course that you are also actually getting high school credit for as well. So this is a little information about Lipscomb University, but Lipscomb University is who we are going to pair up with next year in offering classes. Why Lipscomb University? Why not somewhere closer? We felt when we were looking at some of our options and reaching out to and speaking with the representatives that this is a private institution that kind of holds some of the same academic standards that we would hold here. So we want to ensure that whatever courses we are taking through Lipscomb would be of the same academic rigor that they would be here at the Webb School. So that is who we will do our dual enrollment through Lipscomb University. Just some information, I won't read through all this, but to kind of talk about this process. So the dual enrollment courses are going to be open to juniors and seniors, and that's why we're kind of presenting this information to you guys. You will have technically the opportunity to walk out of Webb School here if you're a sophomore with 30 hours of college credit already complete. Now that's if we're a super overachiever and we're taking all the classes. But essentially what we would say your max to do would be 2 in the fall and 2 in the spring semester, with the opportunity of taking 2 more between your junior and senior year. The most important part about this, and we want to be very clear, is that this is not going to replace the Webb curriculum. So none of these courses that are going to be offered would be an English class instead of the Webb's English classes. These are going to all be supplementary classes that will give you kind of an idea of the college level, as well as potentially help you in your major get rid of some of those gen ed that first year of school. We find it very important to keep the Webb curriculum, and that you are learning the math, the science, the English, the history from the Webb faculty, and then have that same education that your peers would have. The most important question you're probably asking is your cost. So if you are a Tennessee resident, this is going to cost $50 a course, which if anybody has been to college or paid for college, $50 a course is a great deal, and then plus the book. If you are a non-Tennessee resident or international student, it's going to be $550 plus the book, which is actually still a great deal for a college level course. And we will take care of that kind of in-house. It will be billed in-house, and then we're going to take care of it. So all as far as the financial end, you'll have no worry about a transaction between Lipscomb. That will take care of that kind of in-house. There are requirements though. So this is going to be open to those that have a 21 ACT or a 1060 on that SAT and a 3.0. These are the same requirements as the HOPE, and part of this is A, these are Lipscomb's requirements, and B, that's also what's going to make you eligible for the grant that makes this $50. So we will be using the grant in order to make sure that those classes are at that price. This is also an important reason why we're having our juniors take that SAT and or the ACT on campus in March, so that if we haven't had a test yet, that we have at least that one test to give us that 21 or 1060 on the SAT. So again, part of the application process, we are going to be working through this. Some of this conversation is going to happen in relation to this conversation that we were just talking about with your advisors when you're choosing courses. Kind of our timeline is April. So in April, we are going to have another meeting. If you are interested in taking one of these dual enrollment classes, we are going to have a parent-student meeting, and we are going to walk completely through the process of signing up for the grant, signing up for the classes, and actually putting in a college application. Something that we find awesome is that part of this process is you are actually putting a college application in to become a member of the Lipscomb community. So we think this is a great activity for our sophomores and juniors to have that time to see what it's like to put in a college application before they're putting them in your senior year. Good news is these courses, as I said, will show up on your transcript. These will also be an honors level course, so it's going to be the 0.5 bump in your GPA. So we find these important for many reasons, but we also tend to see our juniors and seniors, again, they're taking an extra pottery class, they're taking an extra guitar class. These are great classes to take, and if that is your passion, we want you to continue that. We also, though, want to give you the opportunity to take a course that may help you discover a career path that you are looking into, or classes that you would potentially take in college. And the nice part about it is that 0.5 bump. We've done our research, I promise, and we've talked to a number of colleges and universities, and when they look at a transcript and see the dual enrollment, they're also giving them that 0.5 bump. There are a few universities we ran into is actually giving the AP bump, but we'd like to kind of still at this point keep the difference between an AP class and the honors course. As of right now, these classes will be online courses. They will be proctored here on campus, so you will have the opportunity to come in C period. You don't have a class C period. You'll come into the library and we will be proctoring these courses, but it will be an online course. Some of us are very tired of online courses, but it is reality that college that this is how courses are taught. Our hope is in the future that some of these courses will be on campus taught by a Webb faculty, but for the 2022-23 school year, they will be online courses through Lipscomb University. Just to give you an overview, this is our initial class selection list. So as you see, there is going to be a progression of psychology, there'll be a progression of business related, and then there's going to be some general courses. These courses were selected for a number of reasons. Main reason being that you're going to have to take a psychology class in college. Does not matter what your major is, it's going to happen. You're probably going to have to take some sort of intro to communication, something like that. So these are courses that we're hoping get knocked off of your list and just making that freshman year a little bit easier, getting you into your major courses. These are progressions, so we'll talk a little bit more about that if you decide dual enrollment is something you want to do, kind of that progression of which class comes next, which class we can take at a time. But this will be our initial list of courses that will be available starting next school year. So the next steps on the dual enrollment, if this is something that you're looking, that you're excited, so the discussion, so again, just as we talked about discussing your curriculum choices heading into your junior or senior year, we kind of ask you guys as parents to talk to your children on if this is something that they want to do, is this something you want them to do. In March, when we start to do this course selection, that's when we kind of want you to have for sure that we're okay with our child taking these classes, and that so when we do the course selections with your academic advisors, we mark, yes, these are the courses that they're taking for dual enrollment, and then as I said, in April, we'll invite those parents and students back here to campus, and we're going to completely walk everybody through every step of signing up both for the grant as well as signing up for the courses and the application process. So if this is something you're interested in, we are moving quickly, but we do have a timeline that coincides with the academics here on campus as well, because we are going to work hand in hand with Ms. Dakari and making this part of your curriculum. And we just kind of see this as a great added advantage to the Webb experience, and no greater way to college preparatory education than to truly be taking college courses.
And like Mrs. Jones said, a lot of research has been done into this. So the courses that we have presented, we have vetted against other colleges and universities, not only in Tennessee, but also outside that may be highly selective. While the class may not transfer, you may still receive college credit as an elective credit. So you're by no means wasting any of your options. It may just give you more options to take elective classes at the university of your choice.
Test prep, so our juniors have heard this a ton, but if our parents haven't heard this, we use a method test prep, and our juniors currently have a system that's in their, see that face, that is in their Canvas classroom that has outlined week by week what they are supposed to be working on as far as test prep. I am happy if any parent wants to know how far your child has gotten in that. We are happy to bring those numbers up for you. The important thing, especially as we talk to our juniors right now, is that you will be taking that real SAT in March. So that program is running through. We have everything outlined between now and March to make sure that you are prepared for that test. Obviously, you're more than welcome to, as we said, take another test outside of that test in March, but we feel by that point in your junior year, that's a great time. If you haven't taken an SAT yet, that's a great time to kind of have a balance. We do have method test prep. It is free. And so it is a great option here. We're looking at some other options to add to our curriculum and add into our math and science and English classes. But as of right now, this is a class that they can take online. They can do 5 minutes at a time. They can do 30 minutes at a time. It's kind of work at your own pace. But if your child hasn't told you about this yet, this is available to them and they can work on this. As our sophomores, they can as well, and just kind of get more research into what those test questions look like and how to do it.
Think back to the day before fall break, before you all went on a wonderful vacation or you did something exciting, and you spent a half a day taking that PSAT, probably over in the big room, one of those classrooms. Well, that PSAT is very important for our juniors because that could put you in for national merit scholarships. But it's also great prep for our 10th graders on what to expect next year for the PSAT National Merit Score Qualifying Test, which will then also prepare you for the upcoming wonderful SATs. So this is what it will look like eventually in your score account. You can see the progression, and hopefully our goal is to have those scores go up. But it's also helpful for us to see the progression so that we can understand perhaps where we can help with test prep so that the next time you take that exam, you may score even better. So when you took the PSAT on the 10th, in your 10th grade, you took that exact same test that the 11th graders took. So the only difference is that the 11th graders will be scored to see if you qualify for the National Merit Score Qualifying Test. We do not have your results yet. So they're released by state. So they will be released on December the 6th. So December 6th will be a very busy day for college counseling, but we will have them uploaded into SCORE so that students can see those as well. And we want to make certain that parents and students see these scores because there's going to be a lot of things that are built upon these PSAT scores. Some things to keep in mind if you are a junior. International students, unfortunately, are not eligible for the National Merit Scholars, but domestic students, it is going to be, your score will be assigned an index number. There's a formula for that. They'll take the math, the reading, the language, and the writing, and they'll double that score. They'll give you an index score, and it's based just upon students in Tennessee. So even though you may be Georgia or Florida resident, it's just based upon test takers in Tennessee. And that will be determining if you're moving on to be a commended scholar. So the commended scholar are top 3 and 4% of all PSAT test takers. And then after you receive the commended, based upon your index number, if it's above a 220, typically is what it is in Tennessee, then you could qualify to be a semifinalist. That means 16,000 students across the United States would then become a semifinalist. It's very easy to become a finalist if you just graduate from high school and you do what the College Board requires. And then that typically goes to 15,000 students. There are scholarships and financial rewards going along with the National Merit Score Qualifying Test. We want to make certain everyone scores exceptionally well. When we have the opportunity of meeting with your child or you together, we will actually have a summary report that we will deliver, either electronically if you wish to have that. The student will most likely have a hard copy. And then you will actually be able to link your College Board account to Khan Academy. Most of you probably have heard of this. You may already be doing this as well. It will have a score, and it will be broken down by your evidence-based reading and writing and your math score. And that National Selection Index, that's the number that determines if you're going to be national merit. If there's an asterisk by that number, that means you probably will not qualify. So the higher the number, the more options you will have. And then there will be a scale that shows you where your score ranks in conjunctions with other students taking that test. And we will go over these details with you in full detail. And then we will even share with you your answer booklet if you wrote your name on your test booklet. We will send your test booklet with your answer sheet so that you can see what questions you missed. And ironically, the College Board, love them or hate them, it's a love-hate relationship, but they will even tell you the difficulty of the question, They'll tell you if you got the question right or wrong, and they will tell you the correct answer. The reason this is important is because when you link your College Board account with Khan Academy is going to only quiz you on those sort of questions that you missed. So there's no reason of testing your knowledge if you already know it, so let's streamline that process. So college counseling will help you set up those accounts as well. And so we will just in real short, after this meeting, this recording will be posted not only in Canvas, but eventually on the College Counseling website. We will share with you the PowerPoint and all of the PDFs that we've shared either online or we've distributed today. And then right after Thanksgiving, you'll be receiving an email from College Counseling asking you to schedule a one-on-one meeting with your counselor. You may choose Mrs. Jones, you may choose me, but we will either do this in person, we can do it over the phone, or we can do it virtually, whatever works best for you. And we're going to go over these PSAT score results, and we're actually going to start building your college list. As we go back, we'll also know course selections, communications will start happening very soon as well in January through March. Mrs. Jones is going to walk us through the dual enrollment orientation and registration process. But we want to make certain that you know that your PSAT scores are not yet available. They won't be ready until December the 6th. And we will get those to you just as quickly as we can. This will be our contact information we'll share with you afterwards. And we look forward to meeting with you on a one-on-one basis. We know that everyone is in a different path on their career and their journey for college admission. So when we spend time getting to know you, we'll be able to help you find that correct path, answer any questions, and help you find the right fit. Anything less to add?
No. We look forward to meeting the one-on-ones. And that's, I think, we spit a lot of information out, and there's a lot to think about, discuss with your child, and I think that's our biggest thing is we don't want to feel like we have to do a question and answer right now, because we truly want to sit down with each one of you and answer your personal questions. And those that are watching, sorry you couldn't make it here tonight, but what we would like to do is have that opportunity to sit down and start that process with you, whether you're in your sophomore year or your junior year, just so that we can start building that relationship and have common goals moving forward.
Thank you. Again, thank you for taking time out of your evening to spend with us. Thank you for having this recorded, Mr. McCurry. We appreciate you very much. And we hope you all have a very wonderful evening. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. I know.